I just
Welcome to Conversations with Tona Brown. This is your girl Tona, and we have reached the end of season 1. But fear not, we are well into filming season 2, and I'm so excited. To wrap up our first season, here are some of my favorite clips from the wonderful guests we've had so far. First up, we have Troy Kennedy, a powerful voice for the community, speaking about his first time dating a trans woman and the education that came from it.
I met a young woman named Jaleesa. I was 19. She was 17. This was in the mid 80s.
Okay.
So it was definitely a long, long time ago. So it was before social media. It was before Maury and Jerry Springer and all of those things that are out there. Trans women didn't have a social, they weren't viewed socially. It wasn't something we talked about. I met a young woman. She was in trouble. I always pictured myself as a superhero, so I put my cape on. Looks like trouble, and I helped her out. After us, getting to know each other and talking and things of that nature, she told me that she was a transsexual, and I was like, "Well, what is that?" It blew my mind. I had no concept. I had no knowledge. I didn't know what it meant, and I didn't know what it meant about me because she looked like my ex-girlfriend that I was dating in high school. They could have been sisters, literally. They looked the same. They were shaped the same. I didn't know how to make it make sense because I didn't have the knowledge base. I didn't have any peers to go through, and that initial meeting just sent me down this road in the beginning of just a lot of self-doubt, of fear, and all of these other myriad different feelings, trying to really understand myself and understand what it meant. We're taught and we're socially conditioned to believe that you're either straight, gay, or bisexual. If you're anything other than, as a black man, if you're anything other than straight, then there's definitely something wrong with you, that is a mark against your masculinity. It's a bad thing. You don't want to carry that label, it's about being ostracized. It's about being othered. And so that fear, carrying that fear of what people will think about you is all encompassing. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you wonder what's going on. It makes you lie to yourself. It makes you lie to those around you. And literally, it's some sort of mental condition because you have to deprogram yourself. One of the things that some of the brothers they call me Yoda, because I always say you must unlearn what you have learned before you can take this journey and take this journey properly. When you don't have peers, when you don't have people that you can talk to openly about it, you fall into yourself, and then you fall into that fear. And as all of the brothers always tell me to do this quote that's actually from After Earth with Will Smith when he was talking to his son in the movie. He said, "Fear is not real. The only place where fear exists is in your thoughts of the future. It causes you to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not understand me. Danger is real, but fear is a choice." When I heard that in that movie, it resonated within me, and I learned that quote verbatim because it explains a lot about the journey that men are taking. That fear, you fear things that aren't a threat to you at that point and may not ever be a threat to you. I won't pretend to say that some men do lose their families. I've lost a job because I was dating a trans woman and things of that nature. But that fear of what my family would think, what my friends would think, what the people around me would think was all unfounded. Once I stood up, everything was okay. Well, I started dating trans women when the internet really wasn't a thing. Social media really wasn't a thing. That visibility that trans women have today simply did not exist. It was not a part of any conversation. I had never heard anyone say, there trans women even existed. The trans women were out there. So my level of education, my exposure, there was nothing. And so when I first started meeting trans women, it's like, well, nobody told me about this, and I had no frame of reference on how to respond to it. So today, with social media, with movies and Pose and even Paris is Burning. Paris is Burning was one of the first uh, video documentaries that was about ballroom, but it had trans women in it,
Right.
and it that's when the exposure really just kind of started to ramp up. But as I became a part of the community, because one thing is a lot of guys try to do, they try to separate themselves from the
That's right.
community. They like to pretend that they're not they're not a part of the community. They're not into this, whatever this is, or however they frame it in their minds. But that's not true. So it's all about self-acceptance. My mother has always said this to me from a child. You must like, love, and respect yourself before you can like, love, and respect anyone else.
All
In
right,
fact,
Mom.
you've heard my mama say that.
Yes, I
So,
have. Yes, yes.
and that's a mantra that I've heard my entire 60 years on this earth. I've heard that from my mother. And I share that, and I see that. I see that a lot of these men truly don't like, love, and respect themselves. They don't know themselves, and they're scared to look in the mirror and simply state to themselves who they are, what they like, and what they're all about.
Wow.
If you can't do that as a man, as a person, period, then you can't share anything with anyone else.
Next up, we've got the fabulous Miss Shauna Brooks, and I love this clip of her speaking about her journey of being her authentic self on reality TV, as well as her knowledge about social media algorithms. Y'all are going to gag. Check it out. How do you feel about the industry and how they're portraying transgender people at this time?
Well, I think that, for me, it's always a strife because I was one of those, entertainers who, in the beginning, in the start of social media, was unapologetic at a time when it wasn't foreseen as unapologetic to be, you know, known as endearing or inspirational or, anything positive. You're a
As a
rebel.
trans woman, you mean?
And yeah, you're a rebel. You're an outcast. You're a black sheep. You're problematic or, things like that. And it's just like, I always spoke up and I had the power and platform organically, that I grew. So people forget that there was a lot of discrimination with me in my accounts, which led me to going and get certified and taking classes to learn about, coding and to learn about the back end of social media. So, that helped me and inspired me to do research more onto the, technical side of, you know, app development.
Yes,
So,
and that's something that I was so impressed when we had our discussions after rehearsals that you've done so much research about, and I would love for you to talk more about that. Like, what do you think the average person that goes on social media thinks happens when you put up a post compared to what you have learned through your research and studies about coding?
well, there's a lot of discrimination in the
Mm,
algorithm. The algorithm has discriminatory, you know, um, features on them that are imposing on an account's, ability to reach,
mm,
or gain the exposure necessary for whatever topic.
uh-huh.
Baby, you're so spoiled. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
There's so many shifts when we're having these, moments of glitches or moments of, what do you call it, terms of service updates. Those are, when they're revamping, the service. And
Oh.
when they're flipping the script, because they take all of your information and then they utilize that against you. So you have to outbeat yourself, if that makes sense, right?
Okay.
And
Give us an example.
okay, so like the numbers, the worst thing that they ever did was give us access to our numbers, because numbers don't lie. And we know the research of all of the psychology of, you know, what they're researching with our engagement, with our interactions, our everyday lives, because your phone is telling so much about you, and all of that's being tracked. So let's say you're posting in a particular area, it could be discrimination there, or just like how it is with zip codes, it's the same exact thing with social media and platforms. It's the same exact thing. It's just in digital form. And then they hide behind the discrimination because they found a loophole, per se, right? That says that their secret sauce, the algorithm, is protected by proprietary business measures. So then they don't have to give you the real at how they got this type of information or type of research on us, right? Because that's why, if that were the case, then people would have never known what shadow banning was.
That part. So
You get what I'm
that
saying?
could lead to unethical practices, right?
Always, tech is unethical. Period. Tech is
Oh,
unethical.
wow. More relevant than ever after this past election, we're going to talk to journalist and politician Nathan James, talking with us about the political and corporate climate relative to the LGBTQ plus community now versus then.
It's only been about 20 years since homosexuality was decriminalized by the Supreme Court. It was a decision in a case called Lawrence v. Texas, which ruled that laws that targeted one specific group of Americans were unconstitutional. So it's only been since 2003. It hasn't been that long. In that time, in the intervening time between then and now, we've made great strides forward. We have same-sex marriage, don't ask, don't tell has ended. There have been great strides forward in people who seek to transition, getting gender-affirming care, access to gender-affirming supportive therapy. And corporate America came on board in the intervening 20 years with very visible, very widespread support for us, especially in events like you mentioned, like the New York City Pride March, which is called a march to this day to remind us of its political heritage. Now, what happened in the past year is very, very telling about the changes that are taking place in American society. We tried, as you mentioned, to organize a 10th anniversary commemorative concert of your historical performance at Carnegie Hall. And not only did we run into difficulty in obtaining any corporate support at all, which was very surprising to me because the events I participated in the past have encountered no resistance. But New York City Pride had to cancel the Pride Island event and the rally, which bookend Pride Week in New York, and which have been traditionally signature events for New York City Pride for the same reason, lack of corporate support. They are only doing the march. Target, which last year had very prominent displays of Pride merchandise, was attacked by right-wing conservatives inside the stores where employees were harassed and the displays were destroyed. This year they have caved into the pressure from the other side, and now they have decided to limit or eliminate displays of Pride merchandise in their stores as a result. Another type of corporate backlash that changed the thinking of corporate America on supporting LGBTQ events was the Bud Light campaign featuring Dylan Mulvaney, who was a trans online influencer. She created a contest for Bud Light customers, and Bud Light in turn featured her image on one can of Bud Light as a promotion. The right wing went crazy. There was a huge backlash. Celebrities made videos shooting at Bud Light cans, and Anheuser-Busch lost a lot of money on lost sales as a result of this campaign. And even further, Sports Illustrated featured two trans models on their swimsuit issue cover in succession. Sports Illustrated isn't there anymore. They stopped publishing earlier this year, and a lot of people ascribe that to the loss of subscriptions that took place as a result of this decision.
So going forward for us, what are we supposed to do if we are finding that many of these corporations have a fickle relationship with our community?
One thing we can do right away is remind corporate America of the value of the LGBTQ dollar. We're customers of these companies as well, and we have a lot of purchasing power on our own. So that's one thing we can do. Another thing we can do is we can lend community support to our own events so that whether or not corporate America is there for us, we can support them ourselves as much as possible so that instead of an event getting canceled, it may be not as large as the previous year, but it will still happen. So I think grassroots support is another thing. And a third thing is know your elected officials that are friendly to our community who support us and make us more visible, and enlist their support in encouraging their corporate constituencies to get back on the bandwagon and recognize that we are an important part of American society as well.
Absolutely. I can't agree more. Next is our go-to specialist for all things attraction. My girl, Sydney Kimbrough, educating us all about attraction beyond genitalia. If you didn't hear this conversation before, you definitely are going to want to check this out and hear what she has to say about this.
Well, I think that people kind of think of attraction as terms of genitalia, and we get lost in the fact that that's not how we're attracted to each other. That individuals are attracted to each other based on secondary sexual characteristics. If you see an individual and you have attraction, people are attracted based on secondary sexual characteristics. That's where based on what you see in an individual. And it's not based on genitalia. It's not based on what we think. Now, ideally, there may be certain toys we like to play with, genitalia-wise, certain things we like to indulge with or like interact with sexually. But generally, it's about the secondary sexual characteristics, the masculinity or the femininity of the things that we find attractive, however, whatever that is that we find attractive. And it can be fluid. It can change over time. And it may be a combination of things. The thing that throws individuals off is that we think that because we have one genitalia that we're supposed to be attracted to the exact opposite or whatever represents the exact opposite, and that's not always true. And then when you run into those experiences that counteract that or challenge that, that's the dissonance that people have. They have a really big challenge when that challenge comes to their understanding of what they believe their sexual identity or their attraction is based on. That's what causes a lot of the angst or the misunderstandings between individuals. They need to first understand that it's based on something much greater than that. It's about your secondary sexual characteristics, about personality, about energies. It's about a lot of greater things than just genitalia. But that's what we often break it down to.
Absolutely. So what are the secondary sexual, characteristics that you're talking about? Like sight,
It's like the way a person looks, the way a person interacts the world, the way the world interacts with them. It may be the way that they for a masculine person, it might be their build, it might be their energy towards in certain situations, or the way they express themselves in situations. And it really is very subjective, because the same things that could be attractive in a man could be attractive, the very same things that you could be attracted to in a woman. You could be attracted to strength in a man and could be attracted to the same things in a woman as well. Some people want to make it a very finite thing, and it really isn't. That's why I say it could be a combination or a blend of things. Masculinity and femininity in cultures, we tend to have very specific things that we call feminine, like soft skin or soft colors or long hair. We tend to think as feminine, or hairy or facial hair. We tend to think as masculine, muscular. But you might also have a woman who's muscular or a man who has long hair, and that may challenge your ideals. So it can be a blend of the two, and there is no finite rule for it. The only thing that we do know is that penises and vaginas are about the propagation of the species. If you have a penis, or if you have whether you have a penis or vagina speaks to whether you are an incubator or a fertilizer in the species of the propagation of the species. If you have a penis, that means that you are a fertilizer. If you have a vagina, that means you're an incubator. That's it. And that's all. All the other things surround. That's it. That's it. And it's all. It doesn't tell you if you should have a better job, if you should wear blue or pink. It doesn't say anything else. It just says, what role are you going to play to make sure that we go on as a species? Anything else as far as your sexual attraction and your intimate attraction to an individual, that's all up for grabs, basically. It's based on what your attraction is. And it can be an amalgamation of different things.
Right. Now, let's break it down even further. The girl has a degree, y'all. Y'all know I don't bring y'all just anybody. My diva is intelligent, okay? As most of the girls are. But that's a whole nother story. We're going to break it down even more simply, like you did with me, to help me to understand.
So those characteristics are things those are things that, again, that would be things I would consider the things that are not hardwired to science, because those are things that that an individual can, a male or a female, a man or a woman could attribute to themselves, depending on what their particular tastes or feelings are, and depending on what a person who was attracted to them or attracted to those characteristics could have, they could be attracted to them. So if you find a male, for instance, who has a floral smell, because you could have a male who has someone who likes a floral smell might find that attractive.
That's
And
right.
it might throw so. And a man, say there was a man who likes floral smells, he might find himself aroused by that floral smell by someone who necessarily he wasn't expecting to have a floral smell by. That's just what it is.
Right.
But people are not prepared for that. They're expecting that anyone who smells like a floral smell is supposed to be a flower, and that's not always how it works.
Now, let's get into this snippet with multi-talented indie musical artist and filmmaker Mark Angel. Mark is an incredible example of an independent artist who takes their artistic responsibility so seriously. Listen to this message.
Civilization will stifle if diversity is not allowed. That's just scientific.
Oh, wait a minute. You just did it. You rewind that. Say that one more time. Everybody has that moment on my show. Say that one more time.
Civilization will die if diversity is stifled. You have to, it's scientific, that's math. You can't keep putting the same elements, or it's going to retard civilization. So you have to have diverse elements. That's why America became America. We're the quote unquote the best country in the world because of our diversity. So I wish our fellow Caucasian friends would see that a little bit more. I'll speak to our Brown, Latino, and Hispanic community. I don't know what's happening. I have family that's, and I love Latino and Hispanic men in particular, right?
Okay.
And but I do want to have the conversation with them as Black men, and particularly Black men. What's going on? Where's the disconnect coming at, where you're separating yourselves from your family and your community that wants to actually be here and, help America grow. So those are things that we'll get into. But right now, it's about rolling up our sleeves and not, when he gets in there, starting right now, getting the conversation going and the actualizing going, which is why this movie is important. Art is important. Nina Simone says, it's an artist's duty to reflect the times. And I just wanted to step up to the plate.
And you did. You tore it down. I'm here to say it because, and also the other thing I want to slip in for those who don't know, there's a beautiful scene. I don't want to give it away. There's a beautiful scene that also showcases trans artists and about the gender construct that just warmed my heart. I was like,
Splash T. Did you see Splash T? Did you see her?
Oh my God, she tore it down.
I love her so much.
It was beautiful. And it's just like, again, as I was speaking to Samson and Mike Ruiz and all these different people, it's like we have to make sure that everyone feels welcome and is included in these different projects. And when I saw that, not only your character and just you and just how beautiful the men were, of course, you gotta sell. But at the same time, it was also so wonderful wonderful to see the whole diaspora and just to see that we're showing love, because the
entire cast and crew, very important. Red is a Latino lesbian, Splash in there. My straight cousin was in there. Like all the cast and crew, I have several cousins that are gay. It's just, yeah. Even Notion Station, one of the scenes where we shot the bar scene, that's my straight cousin. She was like, "Oh, absolutely, come and use my bar." So it is a community humanity film and project.
Which is the way the world should be, y'all.
Absolutely.
We got to get to that point where it's this us over here and them over there. We have to do better. And that's why I started conversations with Tona Brown in the first place, because I noticed that there weren't too many shows that showcased us, and then allowed everyone to come and pour into and also to get people to feel encouraged. Yes, we might be in these times, but as I've been telling some of my friends who are journalists and different things, we ain't never been privileged. So
yeah. So we've been fighting. We're fighting all the time.
We've always been fighting, and we're going to continue to fight. But one great thing is that we've woken up so many people with this election. I have to give Kamala Harris one thing. We know where people stand. We know what the issues are. We know how much more education we need to put out there. And that's our job as artists, journalists, authors, whoever.
It's education. It's education. It's just done through entertainment. So it slides in well. It slides in easy. You're caught up in it before you realize what's going on. Yeah, that's the trick. Yeah, people don't. I think we're also exhausted. Both sides of the fence. We're just exhausted. I know one side of the fence is gloating, but on this side, it's just like, okay, it was a reality check, and we're exhausted. But once we get over this rest and take a beat and take a knee, soldier, it's time to get back on that field.
Now we have my girl from Virginia, Dr. Megan Sheehy. This was such a special moment for me to hear how it made her feel to work together on Tenacity, the Tona Brown story. Check it out.
Tona, you and I have known each other since, 1994, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
But, this is a different level of knowing. And so to be privy to this information before it was released to the public and just going through the transcriptions, knowing that you trusted me with this was really humbling. But also, it's just devastating to learn about the experiences that you went through as you became the person that you are today. And I understand that we're starting to get this picture that these experiences or worse are really common in the transgender community, especially among people of color. But it's totally different when you are listening to this person that you love and care about tell these stories. It was just really, the best word I have is humbling, overwhelming sometimes, and I would have to stop. And you made me cry a lot because, what can I do for you? This is in your past. You're this beautiful person, and you are so strong now that you're telling this story publicly. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. And the other part was really interesting as far as academically, because it was a ton of research related to the experiences of transgender people in the United States and the world, just threading this statistical information throughout your conversations to help people see that this isn't just somebody sharing one anecdote. These are common experiences with statistical data that back up your stories and show the world that your experiences are real and validated, not just through your own personal stories, but for people who need it through numbers. So I felt like that was it was just gratifying to be able to basically put statistics onto your story so that people who might be naysayers or people who might just be skeptical in general will read it and see, oh, wow, look at all this information that backs up her experience.
That is what amazed me with the work that you brought to the project was your vision of how to make this bigger than just me. which is what I'm all about. And so I didn't hesitate at all when you recommended the recommendations. I didn't really fight you or anything. I just felt like you're a professional. You know what you're doing. We're friends. And also, the vision was so far bigger than what I had ever imagined it would be. Because, again, for those who don't know, this book is very unique, not only because it's my life story, but also because we did it in a rare form. It was like a conversation style book. And that was so exciting for me because I could be in the car, I could be on a plane, I could meet Christopher King at a hotel or meet him at a restaurant. And mind you, everything that I'm saying, you guys, because it took 5 years of doing this, we met in all of those spaces and we just had to get the work done. And then there was a crunch time because it had been going on for so long. But then we got to a place where there was a plateau and it moving forward. And so I was just thinking about who did I know that could help to get this project forward, who has the experience, and the education. And so you were perfect.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit for the opportunities that you make for other people. So you came into this project with me like I was doing you a favor. Which is crazy because this was phenomenal. I got to write a book with you and learn about you in all the little pieces and corners that you hadn't shared before. And I just feel so much joy that you trusted this project to me with you and that we are closer than we've ever been. I mean, I just am very lucky that somebody as amazing as you is in my life. I don't know how that happened. I don't know how those stars aligned, but you're incredible and you've made my life more rich. And also because of this work, I feel more prepared to connect with and support the students that I have who are members of the transgender community. I mean, you just would be surprised. You'd be so surprised to know how many people are within the community until you show yourself as someone they can trust. And then they connect with you and they were all over the place and you just had no idea. And now you have this beautiful world.
I love this clip, you guys, because my mom was my biggest fan and my inspiration. And it was so powerful to hear celebrity designer and stylist Robert E. Knight speak about the difference a supportive family makes in a child's life.
I grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn. It's a set of projects in Brooklyn. One of the the worst projects, not the worst project, because my childhood was everything. Like all the stuff that's happening now, shooting and killings, it was happening then, but we were just from a different era, so we were kind of shielded from it, and we lived it. So the generation X generation, grew up with a brother and sister and a mother and a father, so it was 5 of us in the household, and my mom went to school and worked, and my dad worked, and they made sure that the 3 of us went to private school because they didn't want us to be, we lived in the hood, but they didn't want us to be a product of the hood. So they tried to make sure that we had the best education, the best upbringing, make sure that, we all went to college, at least you got your degrees, and then you could do what you want to do. I have a degree in advertising. Then I changed from advertising, I said I want to go for fashion. My dad sat me down, he said, I don't care what you do, just make sure you make money from it. And you can't make money off yourself. And those 2 things I'll never forget. That's why, like, the clothes that I have, like, this shirt is probably like 12, 13 years old. So I've learned to use the things that I have. I can't make money off myself if I keep making clothes for myself. How about make something for a customer? How about, that way? So those are little tidbits that I've learned growing up. Man, my mom has always been my number one muse and number one fan. And she was at every fashion show, every situation that I, did, and never once heard it on my father, never once said that a man doesn't do this, this is not what you should do. They always just encouraged me to do, they never denounced. And I think with the gay thing, I told my mom years ago, I think it was 98 when I told my mom, and she got quiet, but we never really discussed it. And I had to respect that because mothers always know. I think she just wanted me to confirm to her that I knew. So she, so she was good. She never disrespected me, never Her nor my father never disrespected me, never said anything negative, nothing in reference to the gay thing. And that I love and appreciate them both for. Always lift me up. So, yeah.
What's for you will not miss you. Listen to actress, entrepreneur, and life coach Ray Ray talk about the first steps she took in her career in Hollywood and how magnetic energy will attract exactly what is meant for you.
I took my first trip on vacation to LA in 2015. My ex-boyfriend brought me here on vacation. I instantly fell in love with the city. I was like, oh, I belong here. Oh, I need to be here. And it wasn't even attached to acting or anything like that. I just love the vibe of LA. I love the weather. I love the vibes, the energy, the environment. It's just beautiful aesthetically. The stores, everything is top tier. And I'm a top tier girl. I like luxury. I like nice stuff. I like the best of the best. The best sunset views, the best views of the ocean, the best restaurants, the best rooftops. We got it all. And that's my type of vibe, best malls, best stores, best shopping. So it was a no-brainer for me. When I visited LA, I was like, oh, I'm moving here. Instantly in my mind, I'm like, I'm moving here. Because I knew I belonged here. And it wasn't attached to acting. And so fast forward from there, I moved here in 2018. I just saved up a ton of money, moved to LA, relocated here. And it's funny because LA obviously is Hollywood. It's the headquarters of entertainment. And so when you're bopping around LA and you're meeting people, they'll instantly tell you, like everybody will say, oh, have you ever considered acting? Are you an actress? Are you a model? And like growing up, I never saw myself as an actress. And even the show with Babs, it was put in my lap. I never saw after that or aspired to become that. But just like anything else in life, people will see it on you. So if you have a light, if you have something about yourself, people will see it on you. It won't go unnoticed. The acting and the personality part to me was just natural and it's just who I was. I never wanted to, I guess, make a career of it or capitalize on it, so to speak, because like I said, I pride myself on being an intellectual. I'm studious. I like to read. I like to write and all those types of things.
That's right.
Learn. So the acting and the being good in front of the camera was kind of like, whatever, I feel like, okay, anybody can do that. I know what the people want to see. So, because I'm very in tune with the people. I love people. I'm a people person. So I know what I'm entertained with. And we all love authenticity. We all love humor. And a lot of the girls on the show weren't given that. However, by me being on the show, I was able to learn a lot of the production and behind the scenes, how everything works, everything with the cameras and just putting on a show, creating an engaging experience or entertaining experience for the audience. I learned how to be professional in the industry, everything like that. You learn the language. I made a lot of connections. I did a lot of networking, and I run into the lady who casted me on Wild 'N Out, his casting director. And we were just hanging out one day, and she was like, have you ever considered acting? And I'm like, no, I don't really like it, because for me, acting was having to play a role and be fake. And I was like, I'm too real to play a character. I don't feel comfortable faking something.
Right.
But she did. I remember her telling me, she was like, once you get a script that feels real or relatable for you, it'll click in, and it'll make sense. And that's exactly what happened. So then she told me that I went to Essence Awards 2022, and they sat me next to the cast of P-Valley. And when the usher brought me to my seat in my row, and I would just remember approaching the row, and I'm about to, enter the row, and everybody has to kind of like move out the way. And I remember them looking up at me, and they were just like gagged, like they were shooketh. Like, dang, who is this movie? They was looking at me like I'm a movie star. Mind you, I didn't even realize who they were. I'm just like, let me get to my seat. So when I got in my seat, I realized I'm sitting next to the cast of P-Valley, right? So then at the after party of the Essence Awards, that's when you meet everybody. That's everybody that was at the awards. They go to this private, the undisclosed location. We have this big after party. And so at this after party, I'm meeting all of these directors and producers and all these different people. And then people were coming up to me like, where do I know you from? Did you act in this? Or what show did I see you on? And it wasn't that they necessarily recognized me. I don't know. I just was giving off a vibe like I'm on the show. And then I remember a few directors was like, yes, if you're not acting or anything, you need to take it more seriously. You need to put yourself out there. So I took heed to that. I made a casting profile, got my headshots together, and actually took it serious. I was in a Super Bowl commercial at the beginning of this year.
What?
Yes, with J Balvin for Verizon.
You better do it. You better do it.
I was a screaming fan on the Verizon commercial. So
next up, we have life coach DeMarco Majors, who dropped so many gems for us in his episode. And in this clip, he's talking about deliberately carving out spaces within our communities, especially when faced with discrimination and adversity.
We think that because we have an idea, we think an idea is a goal. An idea is not a goal. And how do you actually transform a goal into an obtainable an obtainable job? Like, how do I go, okay, just I want to start a podcast. Well, one of the very first things that we have to do is you have to create the goal, create a plan to the goal, not create a plan to the goal. Then you take action items from the plan, create deadlines to the action items, and then create a strategy on how you're going to accomplish it. It takes somebody teaching you how to do that, because our mind manipulates us and puts us in such a different place. So one of the very first things was I learned that we didn't support our own that way. Then I also learned that funding, is for everyone else, and not, sometimes, no matter how dark skinned or how light skinned you are, you're still black and brown. And funding is not there.
Say it again. See, that's why I had to bring the brother back on, because he always drops these little gems as if they ain't nothing. Say that again. That's it. That's it.
Funding is not there for us, and we have to create the spaces in the conversation. We can't go out and just be, funding's not there for us. No. Why isn't funding not there for us? Let's go to the banks. Let's go to the credit unions. Let's go to the people so that we can have conversations, so that we can create the format of what funding looks like for us. So when we do that, now we can start, petitioning for, because there's tons of grants and stuff out there that we can win, that we can get to start our businesses, but we know nothing about them. So how do we get these resources? How do we get this information? And you know what? So one of the very first things that I learned from my cousin, who kind of raised me, I'm in her house right now, is she's a social worker. I learned grants and different things from her because of how she takes care of people. My taking care of people came from her because she's always taken care of me ever since I was little. So, and that's kind of what I'm learning. And and nothing that I'm saying is negative. It's fact.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And let's go into that too, because I feel we're in an age where truth is subjective. We're seeing it in our politics. We're seeing it everywhere, where when you just state the truth, it's a problem.
Well,
and so I really appreciate that.
We have to remember, the truth is offensive to somebody who's sucked into failure. If you live a scarcity mindset, the truth sounds very hurtful. And you can't use truth as a device to be hurtful. You have to use truth as it is. This is the truth. Hey, those of us who are life coaches, who are Black, we get 15% less clients than our white counterparts.
Really?
That's a written fact. That's just a fact. However, our people are just now starting to know that therapy's okay. I went into this with the firm belief that I wanted to be a representation for our people, so that we can see, I may not be the best person for you, but let me send you to a colleague, because we need to see people like us, because they understand the struggle, they understand the survival mechanisms, they understand the scarcity mindset. So, it's really important for us to see ourselves in these spaces and create more for ourselves. you know.
Absolutely.
And I'm
Absolutely.
not saying segregation. I'm saying, but okay, I'll be very honest. Segregation did hurt us because
Yeah.
we had more opportunities in black communities when things were just one way and not the other. I'm not saying that to go back to that. What I'm saying is we have to go and get what we used to do, create. We have, different places for our black and brown doctors. We have to have different places for our nurses. We have to create within our communities these safe spaces again, like we once had.
Now, for our last clip, we have comedian Samson McCormick on the visibility, unity, and the challenges of success in the Black LGBTQ plus community.
The work that I have contributed to, Black LGBTQ people in entertainment and film, comedy, on stage, sometimes it can be very tireless. It's because of certain circumstances, we do have to work a little bit harder. The work can't just be okay. The work has to always be outstanding. And so you're always working at the very highest level, and you don't always get a return on the work that you do. But one thing that has helped me with that since that last interview was recognizing how many more younger Black gay men in particular. That's my focus. It's on everybody, but as far as just mentorship, I understand the mental and emotional support that a lot of gay and bisexual Black men need, and so particularly navigating this industry. And my view on that has changed a little bit because the younger generation are now saying, I grew up watching you. First of all, that make me feel old as hell. and then secondly, it's like, okay, so the work has paid off in this way. And where, back in the day, there was only a handful of us and we were kind of scraping around fighting for scraps. Now there's much more opportunity. And I think because of a lot of the challenges and seeing life, in the ways, personally speaking, that I have, it has allowed me to become a better person and a much more effective global citizen. I don't like to say artist, and I'm somebody who does my work and I do it out in the world and I go where I'm required to go. Now, as far as the more controversial things, I say things that I have been saying for years, and for some reason now it's a problem. And it's not even just a problem, but these are people in our community who are coming after people's livelihoods, coming after your reputation, smear campaigning you, all that type of stuff. And I'm like, how is it that we in our community are now becoming the same pastors and politicians and family members that just 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we simply wanted to be seen, heard, and respected by? Especially in this age of the internet where it's like everybody feels like they have a platform. The thing about that is having a platform does, in my opinion, and I'm sure you can agree with this, it does require a level of emotional intelligence. It does require a level of responsibility and a way of seeing the world and extending yourself in a way that most people have not been required to do the work to have a platform with. And so people see things, and instead of being constructive about how they approach these conversations or our differences, they will try to bring you down a peg. For instance, if you want to be brutally honest, you look at, because we do that, if you look at somebody like you or somebody like Flame Monroe or somebody like T.S. Madison, or you look at, Black gay men, and my focus is on Black gay men and Black trans women, because we have a different relationship with the world and the Black community. When we can engage with the world and the community in ways where we show up as ourselves and get love for that, a lot of people in our community who haven't worked through that shit, they get upset at us. Oh, you think you special? and that's where a lot of that comes from. And it's not about thinking that we're special, but it's like we know what we're here to do and we're doing our work. And, you know, we all, no matter who we are, where we come from, have the same capacity to tap into our gifts. And so they would be able to do the same thing, too, if they weren't trying to be harmful to people who look and love and express themselves the way they do. But, you know, see the world in a little bit different way, or have different, you know, results talking to people.
Well, the saying hurt people is real.
Them Negroes ain't hurt. Them Negroes need to put the drugs down.
I know that's right. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey with this podcast, Conversations with Tona Brown. I hope everyone has an amazing holiday season. This is going to wrap up the end of season 1, but we're already filming for season 2, and I cannot wait to share my guests with you. Have a happy holidays. Bye.